It's your boy Jeezy Jenkins. I'm right here at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in the legendary Baltimore, and I'm here for a reason. Flew all the way in today to talk to one of my brothers, great man. He goes by the name of Governor Wes Moore, and we're gonna talk about this upcoming election and what it is to be a black man. It's a part of this election because we're all concerned. We have questions, and I knew that he was the perfect person to come sit down and talk to. We're gonna talk about the economy, we're gonna talk about entrepreneurship, we're gonna talk about our families, and most of all, we're gonna talk about black men and what we have to do with this election. So y'all keep it locked right here. We're gonna get into it. Let's get it. So Governor Wes, Governor.
Yes, sir.
You know,
it's an honor, man.
Big homies, what they call them out there in Maryland. You know what I'm saying? No, this has been a long time coming, brother. And I appreciate you taking the time. And you know, I really sat down and thought about it. I said, who can I talk to help me understand what's going on out here? Because I'm usually privy to the information, and this time around, I don't think I have as much information as I would like to speak on a lot of topics, especially with the people that follow me and the people that I have relationships with.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of gray area, and I know you can help with that.
Yeah.
So we want to sit down with you. So thank you for inviting me out to, you know.
Brother,
Right.
it's an honor having you here, in Maryland, having you here in Baltimore, man.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, it says a whole lot, and it means a whole lot, the fact that you continue to use your voice for the upliftment of us.
Well, I've received that, brother.
And it just becomes an ecosystem
Wow.
of who gets taken care of
Right.
and who doesn't.
Right.
And so what we're now looking at with the Trump tax cuts is essentially this new version of trickle-down economics.
Right.
And that's how it's being sold.
Right.
That if you make it easier for businesses to be able to grow, you make it easier for the wealthy to stay wealthy, then they will then take care of everyone else. They'll be more philanthropic. They'll do all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The challenge of it is there is no amount of philanthropy or giving in the world that covers up for bad policy.
Right.
If you have policy that continues to take money out of
from people who don't have it. Right.
So we can continue to give breaks to people who have more than enough of it. That's a backwards economic system. And that becomes a challenge for a lot of people as they're thinking about, well, what exactly does this mean?
Right.
And so, so when we're talking about what it's going to mean for the communities that we represent, the communities that we fight for, the communities that we come from, that tax policy that Donald Trump is talking about and proposing is one that will literally set our ability to gain generational wealth for us and our families. It will set us back a generation.
Wow. So I guess when are you running for president? Because we need to figure this out. I really like the way you explain that, because like when you see just how they're going about it, right?
Yes.
You have to know there's some backroom conversations being had that we're not privy to. And we the people, we out here, we just trying to vote for the person that's gonna, have the policies that affect us.
That's right.
And just hearing that being said, there's always a bigger play, right? And that just gives me clarity on why they're going so hard.
Yes.
Right? Because it's a lot of money at stake. It's a lot of generational money, and it's a lot of your grandkids being straight, while you're taking away from our grandkids.
Correct.
So no, I definitely appreciate that, because, as you're watching, the debates, news, all these different things, you're really seeing two people kind of go back and forth on, how they feel about each other.
Yeah.
You're not really hearing what they're gonna do for people. So I mean, that affects me well, because taxes are real.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I am just all in for the vice president is she's, of the two candidates, truthfully, she's the only one that's put together a real plan on this. We haven't heard a plan, frankly, from Donald Trump. And I've been listening, I'm like, my ears been peeled. But if you listen to the plan that she's actually laid out around home ownership, when she's talking about things like giving capital to first-time home buyers.
Yep.
Why that becomes so important is one of the biggest obstacles we have, and particularly for us, particularly for Black men in this, is that when you go to buy a home, the initial down payment on the capital to get in that home sometimes feels elusive. And you see it where, for a lot of families, if someone's going to go buy a home, they can go to their parents.
Right.
And their parents are like, I'll take care of that down payment.
Down payment, yeah.
Or, I'll do. But not everybody has the same family members. Right. And so for a lot of us, we end up being renters for a longer period of time. And renting is fine. However, buying is better.
Right.
Because now that's your equity. Right. Now you're building up something that you build value. Exactly. It's yours. Versus if I'm a renter, I'm just paying someone else's mortgage.
Right. So you feel like the plan that she's put in place is a step closer to building wealth for the Black community?
Because what it's doing, it does two things. One, it helps more members of the Black community to become homeowners, because there's actually capital that she's willing to assist with it as a down payment for first-time home buyers.
Right.
The second thing she's doing is she's saying we have a crisis that we don't have a big enough inventory. One of the biggest problems we have when it comes to housing is, and I saw this in the state of Maryland, we just passed the most aggressive and comprehensive housing package of any Maryland governor in recent history.
Right.
But the big reason why we had to do it and why it was such a fight is the locals have so much control. There were literally local land commissioners who had more power than the governor to say like what we could build and where we could build. And so we had to really work together to lay out a whole series of legislation that focused on things like density bonuses and giving bonuses for people that can build more housing, transit-oriented development, that if we have train lines, that I'm saying I want to incentivize people to build more housing around those train lines, because that means that people can get from where they live to where they work. Right. So she's talking about we have got to build more inventory and creating more opportunities, because it's basic supply and demand, right? If there's only 5 houses in a neighborhood, but I have 20, 50, 70 families, the value of that home, of those 5 homes, keeps going up because
there's no inventory.
There's no inventory. And so what ends up happening is the people who then have the inventory, they continue to get wealthier while everyone else has no chance of even getting in. So what we need to do is create more inventory, give more people more opportunities. So then, yes, as the value continues to rise, we have more people who then have a chance to get that value, but a chance that more people have real ownership.
Trump versus Biden and Black unemployment. Can we break down both administrations, what they did to stimulate or to get in the way of us getting jobs?
Yeah. I love this question because, it's not as simple, honestly. I think some people say under Trump, the unemployment rate skyrocketed for Black folks. That's not true. And I think we have to be honest.
You said so under Trump. You said it skyrocketed?
Yeah, no, I think there are people who make arguments that, everything under Trump, like all the numbers went haywire bad under Trump for Black men. And I'm like, if we're going to be honest, let's be honest. That's not true.
Okay.
That even under Donald Trump, we started watching a tick down of unemployment rates, and especially amongst Black men. Now, I'm not saying the policies of Donald Trump are the big reasons for those things, but I think we have to be honest, right? And the honest answer is that you did see unemployment dipped down under Donald Trump. And then when you had COVID, that had a significant impact. And then so you saw how even just nationally, the numbers started moving during COVID. What happened
going down.
Right. And then with that also, that's when you had additional things like COVID supplies, you had additional capital that was going in, you had stimulus checks and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, during President Biden,
can't forget the PPP loans
and the PPP loans. So this injection of cash and capital that came in across the board, I think has to be factored in the numbers. And I think we can't lie and say, oh no, during Donald Trump, Black unemployment skyrocketed. That's just not true.
Okay.
However, the lowest Black unemployment rates that we have seen in recorded history did not happen under Donald Trump. They happened under Joe Biden. They happened during the Biden-Harris administration, that the lowest recorded unemployment rates for Black men that we've seen happened during Biden-Harris. Another thing that we saw during Biden-Harris was the number of Black-owned businesses started by Black men that number jumped under Joe Biden. The other thing that we saw under Joe Biden was that
They jumped, so it actually went.
so it increased. So we had more Black businesses being started post-COVID.
Okay.
And because they were receiving more capital, they're receiving more supports. So you saw more Black businesses, more Black men in particular, who were starting a lot of these Black businesses. And what that did was you saw how the racial wealth gap over the process since the start of COVID, that the racial wealth gap had actually decreased by 20%.
Really?
So this was something that was happening actively during President Biden. The big thing that we have to do, and when again, where we're talking about where is Donald Trump now and what is he talking about versus what is Vice President Harris talking about, there's a couple of things she's talking about when it comes to getting people employed. She's talking about making, as we've actually done in the state of Maryland, historic investments in apprenticeship programs and trade programs.
Right.
The reason that that's really important is I'm just a big believer. We have some of the best four-year colleges in the country, not in my state.
Right.
But not every one of our students are going to attend one of them.
Right.
So how are we getting more people in apprenticeship programs?
So you're setting up the next generation of leaders.
There you go.
Okay. Two questions. The first question would be, if the unemployment rate was the lowest,
Yeah.
but the entrepreneur rate went up,
Yeah.
What does that mean? Right. Because that means that they're not as providing as many jobs, but they're providing opportunities. And then we have to deal with the myth of the stimulus check. Because, COVID happened and everybody losing their mind.
Yeah.
And these $1,200, they're coming and everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the barbershop, I'm everywhere. And I'm in Atlanta.
Family reunion.
Right.
I still get it.
I'm in Atlanta, so when the PPP loans hit, it was like the mall was packed.
Yeah.
Like Lennox Mall was, and I didn't understand it because I never seen nothing like it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want you to break that down for us. And is this something that was already in place and all homie did was put his name on it to make it seem like he was giving the money? Because that's how I got it.
Yeah.
Like he's giving everybody money.
Yeah.
And that was the conversation.
No, and first I'll tell you, so on the entrepreneurship and how that relates to unemployment is this. Part of the reason that I'm a big believer in Black entrepreneurship is that's also going to have a direct impact on Black employment because generally entrepreneurs hire people they know.
Right.
Or they hire people who they connect with.
Right. Or look like them.
Right. And frankly, it's the same reason that we saw what took place in this country for hundreds of years.
Right.
Where you had all these entrepreneurs and you had people in higher education and people would wonder why are the businesses looking exactly like, where the owners were? It's like, well, where do you think the owners were going to recruit people?
Right.
They went to the schools they graduated from.
Yep. This is true.
They went to the places that they knew.
Right.
And so that's why a lot of the companies look a lot like the ownership. Right. And so I want more Black owners.
Right. Entrepreneurship.
Exactly. I want more Black entrepreneurship because then I know oftentimes the first people that are going to go to help to build out their businesses that's going to have a direct impact on the unemployment rate for African Americans. And your point on the stimulus is a really important one because, listen, you're right, man. And I still hear it.
Right.
I still hear it. And real talk, like from family members who are talking like, but I got a check under him. Or, but he took care of the economy was better under him. Here's the truth. The money that we all got did not come from Donald Trump and it did not come from the White House. It came from Congress. Congress passed that to be able to get those checks out and to make sure that people were getting basic supports during a time when so many people not only couldn't work, but when we were told to stay away from each other. So they said, we've got to make sure that people are getting the basic supports that they need. So they introduced this idea of the stimulus checks, right? Donald Trump, in a brilliant marketing move.
I was going to say that. Because it's marketing.
It's marketing.
I swear I had this conversation with my tribe. I'm like, what they got giving me markets? He put his name on it.
Yes. He put his name on it. He put his signature on it. He made it seem like I'm giving it from my personal bank account. From my heart.
They say the boy got his own money.
And people were out there spending Trump checks.
Yes.
Right? Those weren't Trump checks.
So which candidate do you think in your heart of hearts is going to have greater access to work?
Oh, honestly, I don't think it's even close.
Okay.
I think it's the vice president because she's the only one who's actually been proposing a plan for it. She understands the nature of the real economy and, frankly, a lot of the barriers for the real economy. I mean, she is someone who has, even when she was in the Senate, was talking about not only how can we have an education system that's not just teaching our kids how to be employees, but how to be employers. Right. Okay. So that we should have an education system that's actually teaching entrepreneurship skills, teaching people how to be business owners, and then providing capital to these businesses. Right. But the other big thing that she will address is the barriers to employment.
Okay.
Because I know for a lot of people, man, and again, and this is it's very personal because we got family that are dealing with this, friends that are dealing with this, where even if you have people who have misdemeanor records or people who are just coming out, who find difficulty finding work.
Right. Or you say coming out of prison.
Or it's like, or having difficulty finding just basic stable employment, basic stability.
That's the thing that scares me the most about the way the country's set up.
That's right.
Because it's just like you can pay your debts to society and come out and be a changed person.
Exactly.
But you can't even get, and it blew my mind because you can run for president with 70 felonies.
Crazy.
But you got 2 and you can't even get a job. People look at you like you're staying.
Correct.
And when you look at that as a country, you got to ask yourself like, wow, like what's fair in that?
Correct.
And another thing I add, as far as everything that's going on now, I kind of keep up with everything and to the best of my ability, but I can quite naturally see that things are being inflated throughout the whole, just our country.
You're right.
What does this election have to do with that? And will things get better, in your opinion, after this election?
Yeah. It's hard because the whole world has dealt with inflation, right? And part of the reason for inflation, because part of the reason inflation works is you just get so much cash that's thrown into a system that eventually things become more expensive because you just have too much liquidity. And too much liquidity, too much cash, too much capital that's now in the market. And so, for example, we're talking about the stimulus. That was part of the issue, right? Was that we raised and released a whole bunch of capital that then went out to people and people started spending. But what happens is when you start spending and you're putting more and more dollars out there into the system, then the actual value of that
dollar comes down.
Right? And so things will then actually have to become more expensive because you have to pay more to then catch up to how much cash is actually in the market at this point. Because people are like, inflation, interest rates, la, 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 la. All I know is everything feels more expensive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the thing for people to remember is just because the rates are going down, that does not mean things are getting cheaper.
Right.
It just means they're not going up as fast.
Right. But even if the interest rates go down, the houses go up anyway.
Correct.
Right.
And so the thing that we really got to focus on to make things more affordable for people is, are we getting more people employed? Are we getting more people into the workforce?
Right.
And are we raising their wages?
Okay.
Are we making sure that they're actually getting paid for the value of the work that they're doing?
Right.
And the Vice President Harris is the only one of the 2 candidates who's talked about things like, it's time we raise wages.
Right.
That people cannot be out there and working and getting $7 an hour.
So in your heart of hearts, and thank you for this, like I got a lot of clarity.
Yes,
and we'll definitely talk offline.
Yes, sir.
But in your heart of hearts, like why do you think it's important for Black men in particular? Because we can't speak for everybody, but I know you're the governor of many. Yeah. But I'm just saying that Black men for particular to get out here and vote this election. Like, what do you feel in your heart of hearts?
Listen, everything in our life is a policy decision.
Okay.
Everything. I mean, everything we hope to be. Everything I hope to be for my kids. Everything that I hope to leave for them. Every condition that they exist in is a policy decision. And so the idea that we say, well, it doesn't matter or it's not going to impact me, it's like, no, because it's literally from the air you're breathing, the water you're drinking, the home you're living in, the transportation you have, the way you are policed, the schools your kids are attending, everything is a policy decision. And when those decisions are being made, I want someone who, when they're making it, they're thinking about me and they're thinking about my kids. They're thinking about my legacy. They're thinking that they know the past and they have a different hope for the future.
That's right.
And so we know this election is going to ride on us. We know if you just look at the numbers, right? If you just look at the numbers in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Georgia, do you know the most important places in those areas? In Wisconsin, it's Milwaukee, right? Pennsylvania, it's Philly and Pittsburgh. In Michigan, it's Detroit. In Atlanta, in Georgia, it's Atlanta, right? Why are those places so important? Because the elections in those states will literally be determined by tens of thousands, and in some cases, potentially even thousands. Will determine whether a state goes one way or whether a state goes another way. That's Black men. Those thousands we're talking about, or those tens of thousands we're talking about in those individual areas, that's us. If we turn out, we are the most powerful voting bloc in this country. And so I think we have a vice president who's actively working to turn us out. We have her opponent who's actively working to make us disillusioned. So how is your vote not powerful when you have somebody who's trying to tell you not to come out and vote, or trying to make you so frustrated or so confused that you don't even need to vote for him? He just wants you to sit on your hands. That's how powerful your vote is. And so on all these things, on this entire pathway where we want to have work and wages and wealth for all of us, it means we have to make our voice heard. And though, what I do think is important, don't give your vote away. Make sure people are coming to you directly and answering the questions. That's why I think that what's happening here is so important. Make sure we have people who aren't afraid to talk about the importance of Black men, because respectability politics is not going to win the day anymore. Make sure there's people who are speaking directly to these issues and ask those questions. Now, the reason that I am all in for the vice president is because I know her answer to these questions.
Got it.
She's put together policies. She's been detailed on this. And I know the other person is talking about, gold shoes and black jobs. So really ask these questions, but never underestimate the power of your vote. Because literally, we have people who came before us who are looking at us right now and saying, what are y'all going to do? And we got people who are going to come after us, who are looking at us right now and say, are you taking this moment seriously? Do you understand what's at stake? And I think us as Black men, we have to say, absolutely we do. We know the assignment and we're here for it.
There it is. Thank you, Governor Wes Moore, brother.
Easy. My God.
Man. Love. My brother.
Appreciate you,
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.